republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call?
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee McGurran?
Yes.
Trustee Young?
Yes, ma'am.
Public participation. Individuals who wish to address the board must speak from the podium and state their name and address for the record. Points should be made clearly and concisely within the 5-minute time limit. One person's time may not be yielded to another. Comments should be directed toward the board with courtesy and respect. Any responses from the board will be delivered in like kind. Tom Reininger would like to talk about the logo, emergency communication, and the webpage. Oh, sure.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to address trustees. There are 3 issues, as you mentioned: the township logo, emergency communication, and our webpage. Now, a great deal of effort has been placed in the crafting a new sign by the off-ramp of US 27 and State Route 128. I think the final product will be a nice welcome to our community. However, with the installation of a new sign, there will be 3 logos reflecting the township. The new sign, the logo above our board and letterhead, and then the logo on the police department patches. All logos are unique. So my first question is, should we have one logo promoting township? And my second question is, for consideration, if we place a sign by US 27 128, should we put smaller metal signs welcoming people coming east and west on 128 out of Hamilton or out of Cleves? Right now we have a sign going towards Hamilton that says Ross Township Limit. But coming in, there's nothing, unless I've missed it. So just something to think about. And also coming south on US 27 from the Millville area. My second is emergency communication, my second point. Now, at a recent board meeting, there was a discussion about who should be the spokesperson for the township in the event of an emergency and how that communication should be handled. Now, considering recent events in Springfield, Ohio, and closer in Whitewater Township, local and community media were involved, and the communication by local authorities was seemingly very consistent and clear. My question to the board is, what is the status of our emergency communication preparation? Finally, the Ross Township homepage, and this is wordsmithing. The economic development section of the homepage states in part, it is virtually impossible to stop development. The best any developing community can accomplish is to manage control over how increased governmental services costs are funded. Now, since the township has stepped away from one method of management, the Joint Economic Development District, what are the plans for going forward? And then should an approach reflecting the utilization of a November 2023 land use plan as a guideline be reflected in the paragraph called economic development? Thank you.
Well, stay there so we can answer. We'll talk back and forth.
Go ahead.
So when we have an emergency, anybody who's been doing the speaking for us will be Lori. She's the administrator, so everything should be coming from her. And so it's one person giving the advice or questions or answers. It'll be Lori. Now she would report back to us, or we can tell her what our views are, but it'd be through Lori if I'm not right.
The board just recently approved a communications plan 2 months ago, maybe 2 or 3 months ago.
As far as the JED goes, we removed that, yes, because I felt, and Russ as well, it would bring money in to put in infrastructure. Infrastructure would cause a lot of growth. It's not what the public wants. So how will we fund things? As we've been doing it since 1803. So we'll still have growth. You have to have growth, but it won't be heavier growth. we did not want to see, like in Harrison down here, all the vinyl city coming up. That's not what the people want. They want slow growth. People moved here for the same reason why you did. You like the country atmosphere and stuff like that. So that's what the people wanted, and we granted what they wanted. How did we know that? Well, we had surveys earlier. We're going to have another survey. I couldn't see wasting the money for another survey when they're having a survey when they had the Burns thing going on. So what I had posted on Ross Talks, so on and so forth, hardly any, I think two people saw a benefit of having it, and over 150 said no. So there again was another small, we got residents and we got taxpayers. There is a difference between the two. You may be a resident, but you don't have a voice like a taxpayer does, although we still represent you. So we decided to get rid of the JED. And as I told a lot of people, as I saw it, in the next 20 years, people says, well, I'd like to have more retail. It's not going to happen. Because if I'm going to open up a retail store, I want to know who my customers are. I want to know who my competition is. Well, I have no competition. Where's my customers coming from? Mainly Ross. How many people live in Ross? 8,700. How often will they come and support my store? Not very often. I'm not going to put a store here. I like to have a sit-down restaurant. Not going to happen. Until we see about 20,000 people in ICA coming in about 15, 18, maybe 20 years from now, we're not going to see nice sit-down restaurants. We'll still have little restaurants. We have a couple of them here doing very well. But there again, how often will my people come? Will I draw them from Harrison? Will I draw them from Hamilton? Will I draw them from Corning? No, you won't, because they already got the stuff. I want a Kroger's. Then we don't want a Kroger's here. If you want a Kroger's, go to Harrison, go to Corning, go to Hamilton. If you want a Kroger store. If we're going to keep that smaller town atmosphere, there's certain things we have to learn to live without.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
On the webpage says growth is inevitable. Virtually impossible to stop development. This is on the webpage. My concern was to avoid a knee-jerk response to an imminent development, to have something in place like the land use plan that can be accessed and referenced to control the development.
We'll be bringing it later
Speak on this a moment. Just ironically enough, last week, I modified the content on that particular economic development page. It addressed a whole lot of back when one of the trustees and the administrator at the time went to Spooky Nook. There was a whole lot of content that is no longer relevant pertaining to this board. So my thought was, well, I could either just delete the whole economic development page because this board is sort of in a working progress of where things are going, or I could delete everything except what now remains. The land use plan, I did consider putting the land use plan, a link to it on this page. I knew it was a discussion for tonight, so I wasn't quite sure whether to put that on there or not. So I decided not to. However, the land use plan is under the zoning. So I believe that later on tonight, there will be discussion about the land use plan. So there could be some content to put under economic development or not. But right now, I was just removing content that was no longer relevant. And
my concern was just to be prepared for development, which is going to come, rather than have it come in at a meeting, present a proposal, then it's kind of uproar to respond. That's all. Just be prepared. That's it.
And your third question was signs. I see your point. That's what I kind of thought. We got the sign above us. Then we got a new sign coming in.
that is not a logo. That is the official seal.
Oh.
And if you notice, most communities have an official seal, and then they have a logo for more general correspondence. Any formal correspondence that pertains to the board would use the seal. Any general correspondence, we actually have one that has some multicolored swoopy things on it. It says Ross Township, and it has a red, a blue, and a green loop that we use for more general correspondence. So you are true. with a new sign at the intersection. That would be a second logo, but that is an official seal.
Oh, okay. I just didn't know which
Confusing, I understand.
is it. And then I think the new sign's going to be nice. I think the police department has a very nice logo. The fire department has one that's unique to fire departments, I guess. It doesn't reflect just Ross Township. But just consistency, that was the only concern.
We are inconsistent to be consistent, that's all.
The fire department does have one that says Ross Township on it. It's not here because,
Yeah.
this is more police. And Tom, thanks for bringing all those up. The logo and the signs is something that we've all been, talking about and working on. And we're going to talk about that later tonight.
Okay.
The land use plan is, as they said, when I walked in, Trustee Young said, we need to maybe talk about that. And I said, it's top on my list. So we're going to chat about that. You're aware that Mr. Watson has purchased that property up there, are you?
Burns Farm.
Okay.
No, but
Okay.
sure.
Well, Ron Watson purchased that land. It's been a month? About 4 to 6 weeks ago. So I have talked to Mr. Watson about what he sees for right now. What he sees for right now is leaving it just the way it is. That's not to say that in time he's not going to want to develop it. He's a businessman and a darn good one. But
Development is going to happen regardless of what.
But I think being out ahead of it, which is what we're going to discuss a little bit now about how we want it to work, is better than being reactive, which is kind of what we were before in a way. So we're going to try to get ahead of that.
Sometimes better plan when you don't have someone beating on your head saying,
Absolutely.
get my project approved.
Yep.
So that you're not focused solely on that, but you're looking at.
Yep. Here's what it is. You develop it within this, and then we'll look at it. And I think that's, I think we'll get there. Yep.
Thank you, Tom.
Lori, thanks for catching that and adjusting on the webpage ahead of time. Anybody else? Great. Procedural actions. Move for the adoption of motion number 24-129 to dispense with reading of the minutes from the September 5th, 2024 regular meeting and the September 19th, 2024 work session. Need a second?
You got one?
Discussion? Roll call?
Trustee Blower?
I have to abstain.
Okay. Trustee Young?
Yes.
Trustee McGurran?
Yes. Move for the adoption of motion number 24-130 to approve the minutes of the September 5th, 2024 regular meeting. Need a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Young?
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee McGurran?
Yes. Move for the adoption of motion number 24-131 to approve the minutes of the September 19th, 2024 work session. Need a second?
You got one?
Discussion? Roll call?
Trustee Blower?
Abstain.
Trustee Young?
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee McGurran?
Yes. Department reports, fiscal officer, Joyce Smith.
All right, thank you very much. Before I get too into the weeds here, I will give you a really brief update on our 2022-2023 audit. I just signed approval to give them yet another extension through the end of October, so there's nothing to report. Moving on, coming around for you to review and to sign are certifications of purchase orders and checks written since the last regular meeting. I also have in front of you in your report, stack of reports, the one with the blue banner is the receipt report for the month of September. There's nothing too incredibly exciting. We are slowly getting in the items that were sold at the Gov Deals. So that is slowly but surely coming in. Also have for you to review a revenue summary and keep in mind with the conclusion of September, we're 75% through the end of the year. These the revenue summary and the fund summary. And then also in front of you is the appropriation summary as of September 30th. And again, all three of these reports will be very helpful to the department heads in preparation for the 2025 budget discussions. I also have for you to review and to sign the supplemental appropriations report dated September 30th. There are quite a few things moving. I will apologize. There was some confusion, not on our part, but on the pension boards as to which pension board or which pension plan our new police chief would be enrolled in. So I, at one point, thought he was going to return to OPNF, so I had to move some money around and then had to promptly move it back into the OPERS bucket. So you see some money in and out, in and out. But that is for you to review and to sign. I also have for you to review and to sign the First Financial Bank credit card attestation. And I have for you, this is the August billing. And then I have the bank reconciliation for September. So all of those things are coming around for your review and for your signatures. Do we want to talk about the Axon now?
The chief's going to.
Okay, great. And if you have no further questions, I think that's it. I did send Chief Johns a list of a small number of fire personnel that we need to get the fraud reporting done for. But other than that, that concludes my portion of the evening.
Thank you, Joy.
Absolutely. Summarize.
Purpose, approval to pay the bills. Move for the adoption of motion number 24-132 to pay the bills as presented through the fiscal officer's certification of purchase orders. Need a second?
Got one?
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Blower.
Yes.
Trustee Young.
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee McGurran.
Yes. Administration, Lori Kyle.
Good evening. The first thing I would like to report is I have received notification that Energy Harbor, which is the company that was awarded the contract for the community electric aggregation program, is going to become Dynegy Energy. Anyone that is affected by this change will receive a letter from Dynegy indicating that change. Nothing is required. Nothing is going to change. The price and the term for the electric aggregation program will remain the same. So no action is required on that. The second thing I would like to report is the completion of the sale of the properties at the end of Morgan Lane. That was a very smooth process, thankfully. The next item is I do have the items to go in the fall newsletter. There will be a picture of the elected officials, a picture and bio of the new police chief, information about roadway emergency access, asking residents to be considerate when parking on the road to allow emergency vehicles through. Information on the fire department's residential health and safety program. Information on Smart 911 so that residents can put information into a portal that first responders can have additional information on who resides in the home. And title fraud alert information through the Butler County Recorder's Office. So I believe that should be enough content unless the board has any other recommendations that you would like included. If not, I'll send this information to the printing company that we use and get the newsletter out as soon as possible. In your packet is a nuisances update, and a big item on that, which leads into the resolution for tonight, is the major excessive vegetation and debris removal that has occurred at 2231 Robin Avenue, which is where the burned house is located. The resolution before you this evening allows us to assess the property for the expenses that was incurred for that cleanup. And that's all that administration has this evening.
That was clean, that was all cleaned up. Who did that?
Your lawn enforcement. I was able to secure 2 bids.
Okay.
They were the least expensive.
Okay.
He is a Ross Township resident.
The Energy Harbor and Dynegy, is that just a name change or was that a merge?
It is a merger. It isn't a name change. It is Dynegy is taking over Energy Harbor.
And you talked about nuisance updates later and township old business. Should we just do the other ones then?
The zoning violation?
Yeah. We just wait till then to do it? Okay. Right. Okay. Purpose, that the Board of Trustees Resolution number 2024-047, the trustees declared a nuisance at 2231 Robin Avenue, which required abatement by the township's abatement crews. This resolution certifies the abatement expense to the county auditor for assessment. Move for the adoption of resolution number 2024-057, certifying nuisance violation abatement expense at 2231 Robin Avenue to the county auditor for assessment. Need a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Blower.
Yes.
Trustee Young.
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee McGurran.
Yes. All right, Fire Department, Chief Chris Johns.
Evening. I got a couple items for you all tonight. First one's our monthly run statistics. September was the busiest month so far this year. We had 144 calls for service, 64 EMS, and 80 fire runs. Very busy month. Inspections, there were 12 completed inspections in September. Our inspector went to every school in our district and re-inspected. They have all their violations taken care of, so they're all in compliance for the year. The personnel updates, Steve Meyer, our full-time firefighter medic, he just completed his Fire Officer 1 class at Scarlet Oak last week. So all of our full-time personnel have that certification now. Apparatus update, Gator 102 is now in service, finally, after 5 months. It is in service thanks to Eric Simon, who spent many hours getting that vehicle back outfitted with lights and emergency equipment. Probably saved us a lot of money doing that in-house. The pneumatic unit, we know it's scheduled to get lettered October 14th at the signery. Captain Embry has been working on getting it stocked, so once it gets lettered, it'll be good to go in service.
Will it be on display Saturday?
Yes, sir. It'll be there.
Yes.
We got a couple of grants this month. We received $800 from Butler Rural Community Connection, and that's going to be used by 2 battery-powered chainsaws, Milwaukee's. They'll be put on our brush units, one on the Gator and one on the brush truck. And we received $1,200 from the state of Ohio from the EMS grant, and that's going to be all used for EMS supplies. And this is all, we don't have to match any of those funds.
Thanks for writing those grants and getting those. That's all.
Just a reminder, the upcoming levy renewal in November, it's just a renewal, so there's not going to be any new taxes on it, just so nobody's surprised when they see that on the ballot. It's going to maintain our services that we're currently providing, and we have had an increase in a 10% increase in calls since last year, so we are up this year from last year. And I have a consideration for legislation on here for approval of potential deployment for a part-time fire EMT, Tony Schroyer. He's on the Butler County IMAT team. He did not get deployed to the hurricane last week, but he is on that team and could get deployed to other incidents. So that is on there for any future deployments, I believe is how we are doing that.
I worded it specific for
Okay,
Hurricane Helene, but
okay. And Ross is the only fire department he works at. He does not work anywhere else besides here. And that's all I have for the board.
Is the 10% increase in calls affecting your budget?
Not too bad yet. So
It's close.
get close.
Renewal levy, what is that for? How much?
2.75, believe. 99% sure it's the 275.
You're educating the public.
Thank you, Chris.
I got something for him. Chief, why so many mutual aids in the city of Hamilton? You're up to 21 this month. What were they requiring from us?
So that may be deceiving. We were dispatched to the city that many times. Doesn't mean we actually made it there.
That's on
A
that.
lot of times we were canceled before we get there. A lot of it's automatic aid. On structure fires, we're on their first alarm
Backup.
assignment, mostly for the west side of town. And then obviously when they're all tied up on a structure fire, their squads get busy. So we start taking some of their EMS calls for them. But the run numbers looks like it's a lot, but a lot of times it's dispatched, but we're still canceled
Okay,
before we get there.
thank you.
But it is still a call number that we have to enter.
Correct.
Road Department, Paul Bulett.
I just want to touch on Friday's storms. Road crew got called out for 9 different trees blocking the roadways. So we were all out there. Jeff and Adam did all the work. Did about 12 hours working, cleaning up trees. A couple of them were rather large. Did have Officer Hale and Stamper assisting us with traffic. Appreciate that. And shout out to resident John Johnson. He lives right past the school administration building. He brought his 4-wheel drive off-road forklift out to help us free a tree that was hung up and was, sticking out over the roadway. And we didn't have anything. It was going to be a while before we go back, get equipment. He saved us probably 2 or 3 hours and made it a lot safer to get that tree down. He volunteered to do it. He didn't want anything for it, but I just feel like we should mention that.
Give me dinner.
That's all I got. We cleaned everything up yesterday, and this morning we finished chipping them up and getting all the mess cleaned up. That's all I have.
Probably wait.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
Thank you for toughing it out while you're convalescing and trying to work yourself back into good shape. We appreciate it.
Yep.
Paul, thanks for getting that large limb
Yeah.
out of our
Yeah,
started state.
you let me know on that one. I don't know why nobody else called me, but yeah, that was completely blocking the road. Appreciate that.
Police Department, Chief Robert Gerhart.
Thank you, sir. First off, I want to thank Lori, Julie, Lieutenant Rogers, the administration here for making my first 4 weeks here absolutely smooth and welcoming me like family, maybe dysfunctional family, but still family nonetheless. I think Julie was going to kick me out of her office for all the questions I had every single week, but I do appreciate it. I'm so excited to be here, and it's been a great 4 weeks. So quickly for us, calls to service for September, we had 18 auto accidents, 5 domestic disputes, 5 drug activity arrests, 1 mental crisis. We had 1 shots fired call that ended, really we couldn't locate anything. We just got a couple calls about it. 1 suicide call, 1 sex offense, 28 suspicious vehicles, and 344 other for a total of 404. For our self-initiated calls for service, we had 333 business checks, 72 vacation checks, 133 extra patrols, and 137 traffic stops. One of the things that I've already tasked our officers with counting is I'm huge on community engagement. It was in my bureau before I got here, and we're going to do community outreach programs. So it's been a very busy month for them, following me around everywhere, mainly to show me where I'm going. But we had 17 community outreach events, a total of 38 officer hours involved in that, and we reached approximately 1,000 attendees at those events since we hit the ground running. So want to get out there and make sure that we engage with our community and that they see us. And thanks, Chief Johns, for coming down to Coffee with a Cop with me today. So that was good. And then the other thing I have before the board is I would like the board's guidance and approval to authorize me to sign a quote for 10 body-worn cameras from Axon. This is something I think as far as transparency with the community, accountability with our officers, it's a much needed thing. So I reached out to Axon. I negotiated some big contracts with them. So they already knew not to play games with me from my previous time with them. We're looking at an average annual savings of $5,000, a total contract savings of $26,000. And this is, while this is a 2025 appropriation, I need to move forward with the quote because the state of Ohio has a body-worn camera grant that I would anticipate, based upon my previous contacts, anywhere between 60% or higher funding from the state, especially since we are a first-time body camera user. So the state is much more receptive to organizations that are taking the first leap and understand that we can fund it. It's a 5-year contract, would be $8,700 a year. That involves just basically 10 of the newest body-worn cameras. It involves a redaction assistant that allows us to properly redact things that are not public records. So if someone goes into your house in a body camera, Axon has the ability to blur out faces, residences, things that you say that are not under the sunshine laws. So we are that was in I've got a lot of experience with that, and we want to protect people's rights, and we're not going to give news media more than what they're entitled to have under Ohio records law. So signing this quote, it's about a 60-day turnaround just for us to get the merchandise here. It wouldn't be a first payment due for us until January. The grant was supposed to open up in September. The state has pushed it back to October. I would be writing the grant within the first week. I'm already ready to type and go. And then we would be notified of our funding amount anywhere between January and March. As far as the distribution, I would say sometime in 25. But again, I haven't seen any communities that wrote the grant, especially being a first time, that didn't get significant funds from the state, because this is all part of the Ohio Collaborative. So, questions?
You said 10 of them?
Yes, sir. That would give us enough to have one for every officer, and then obviously our part-timers if they were in working, or have a spare should one go down.
And what is you told us how much we can save. How much does it cost?
So it's $8,700 a year. That doesn't include anything in the grant. Total for the 5 years, $43,000. That would be for all 5 years.
Parts, materials.
Parts, materials, everything. Axon really has the market on this. Other agencies have tried to use cheaper materials and then found out that half the time they don't record when they should. Axon is really they're the leader in this. And if we sign now, the quote, we're not going to incur that extra increase, which Axon is going to increase every single year with technology over the 5 years of that contract.
So it's $870 per camera per year.
No, $870 for all 10 cameras per year.
That helps you.
Yes. So you have licensing agreements that you have to have for redaction software. Every user has to have a license agreement. It would be $8,700 per year for all the cameras, all the redaction software that we need to have in order to do public records requests that are going to obviously come when you have body-worn cameras. But from a
$870 per camera.
no. 870 per year. That's all the cameras, all the software, everything.
Confused. I'm still confused and
Sure.
I'm trying not
Sure,
to
yeah,
be.
sure.
This says January 1 invoice. 80,
It was
it's
872.
8,700 a year for
Correct.
all 10 cameras.
All 10 cameras,
Okay.
everything that we would need.
Okay. All right.
And I would anticipate, like I said, between 60% and higher funding from the state on this. State is pushing out body cameras. They want all agencies to have them. We're one of the few that doesn't have them, and
So a little under $700 per month for everything,
basically, yeah.
give or take. Okay.
Where's it stored?
That's all cloud-based now. So they used to have where you had to buy certain levels, but what these cameras are capturing as far as the data, it's an unlimited program. They don't even sell programs anymore where you buy so much storage. They just went unlimited because, as you can imagine, the storage on these things is just astronomical. So all cloud-based. We don't have to have any servers here or anything like that.
Does that work within your budget?
I'll make it work.
So that's the cost of 8722, and you foresee 60% coming from this.
Hopefully more.
Is that for the first year or for the 5 years?
No, it would be for the life of the contract.
Cost from the township, 3,400 a year.
We had these in Oxford Township, and you can imagine what the budget was up there. Every one of us officers had our own camera.
And this is the basic package that we can get without all the extra add-ons, just enough to be able to do redactions so we can protect our residents and not give out information that shouldn't go out under a public records request law.
If you get the grant, it's $30 per camera per month. I don't see how we can't do it.
No.
For the safety of the officers, for
It's
the integrity of the
$6 a
department.
month.
I've never had a body worn camera in 27 years not protect me. It's always helped me out anytime we've ever needed it.
Okay.
Thank you.
We need to see the, okay, we need a resolution this evening.
What we thought this would do is if you approve the purchase order to form, then we can carry that one item through every year when we create the purchase order. So it'd be like a blanket purchase order for the 5 years. We would just keep that on file and note it. That he will include it in his budget each year as well.
But this evening is just an okay to move forward, correct?
Yeah, he needs
Signing that.
signing
You
it
needed to
gives
be able to
him the
get
ability to.
moving on the grant.
Correct. To sign the quote with them now so we can get it approved and
You need-
then apply for the grant.
No, just
Okay.
sign the purchase
Just sign the
order. We
papers.
just need 2 of 3 signatures to be good to go.
Okay,
You have a question?
no.
Chief?
I'm okay.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Township business, old business. Condition of sidewalk on Rabina Drive. Paul, we talked about that a little bit, and you had some things to add about that?
Yeah, if you walk up there or drive up there, it appears that the sewer lid has come up to the sidewalk. I had the Butler County Sewer department out there, and they brought a camera truck and they explained to me, first he said it on the phone, he said the sewer hasn't moved, everything else has sank. And I thought, okay, but he proved it to me that he is correct. That sewer is 12 feet in the ground, so it's not moving with the freeze and thaw cycle, which is only about 3 feet deep. So everything else is settling around that. And the way to fix it, they will work with us when we're ready to fix it. We take the concrete out. They will come out, and there's stacks of risers that they can take out, put on down to an inch. So they can shorten that sewer lid, that riser, to meet the new concrete level. And they will do that with us while we're out there, pouring the new concrete. So they're just waiting on us to basically contact them and say, hey, we're going to take this section of sidewalk out, and it'll come out and make sure that the sewer lid levels with the new concrete, and it should be fine. They even ran a camera, the sewer trough that's 12 feet deep, they ran a camera in it. And if that lid had raised up like it appears, that trough would go up too, and it was as flat as could be, so. The one that's a dead end sidewalk there right at the top of the hill, the homeowner would like to just have that piece removed because everybody walks down to their driveway and then goes across the street anyway. And I didn't see any problem with that. I told them we could take the sidewalk out, but they would be responsible for restoring their yard. You know, we're not going to bring any dirt in or do any yard work. We would just remove the concrete if that's what you guys want to do. But it made sense to me. Nobody's walking to the end of that sidewalk and turning around anyway. So, you know,
He walks.
at least
I'm teasing.
there were 3 people that actually walked down the road while we were standing there talking. Did exactly that, crossed over. So, I mean, if you want to walk that extra 20 feet, we'll leave it in, but.
I think he wanted, he said something about taking it out from the driveway down.
Yeah,
So I guess that would be up to him. Now, does that set up any kind of a precedent if anybody else around here says, well, my sidewalk's messed up and you fix theirs, you gotta fix mine?
well, that's the thing. I wouldn't be fixing anything. It'd just be removing it. They would be repairing their own yard and stuff.
Okay.
As far as somebody else saying, hey, I want my sidewalk out, I don't know. I mean, I'll be in line for that myself, but, you know, it's a pretty, isolated incident where the sidewalk happens to just stop right there. And there's a problem that needs addressed anyway. Why spend money fixing that when nobody's going to walk on it anyway?
Who is currently financially responsible for those particular sidewalks?
The homeowner is responsible for the sidewalk.
Okay. Should probably talk about what we're gonna do about that. If that's gonna, because I mean, it could be precedent setting.
Yeah,
We had a problem down here, it's gotten solved.
right. Right. The one up the street farther, I mean, that's something when you want to fix it, you're going to have to talk with the property owner, let them know that they're going to incur this cost.
Mhm.
And I mean, I haven't done this yet, so I don't know exactly how to proceed with it, but from all the legal stuff I've been told that it's their responsibility but it has to be fixed to code, so they can't just go out and fix it themselves. You know, it needs to be done correctly and then charged back to them.
The top of the sewer crown kind of thing has to be
Smooth.
cut and then.
You take a whole block out, you know, basically take a block out on each side and then frame in the new one, and the water and sewer will come out and lower the lid down to the right height, and you pour the new one in there and you're done.
There is an abatement program that's available through, I believe townships have the ability to do, but it's a very tedious, if you think nuisances are tedious, I believe there's a similar statute that allows you to have sidewalks repaired. Municipalities do it every year, but they do entire subdivisions. They don't just do 3 houses out of a neighborhood. And then there's a process that you can have it done by the homeowner can contact one of 3 or 4 pre-approved vendors and incur all the costs themselves. Or they can have the entity do it and then you charge them back on their tax bill, I believe 5 years, to pay it off over 5 years. And some are larger because they're larger. But you have to follow the whole methodology. And I want to double check that is available for townships to do. I know municipalities do it all the time.
I think we should check that because I don't think we don't have the size road department nor the funds
Right.
to begin to go down that rabbit hole.
And I believe it would be similar like with a nuisance where you're clearing debris, we would potentially contract with a vendor to do the work.
Mhm.
So it's not, and then there's a payback. you can either pay us up front, or you can have it put on your tax bill, and I believe that there's a mechanism to how you charge for that, but it's all very structured through the revised code.
Is that something you can check into and maybe contact, both part of the one family's name is, I know the family's name.
Well, I think we need to look at it legality wise
Yeah.
first and then discuss it going forward, or do you just contact them and say, this is yours to fix? But you have to work with us because we have to work with water and sewer. So I think we need to do more digging.
Yep.
So to
And
speak.
I would want to make it as smooth as possible for the
Mhm.
homeowners. We're not trying to
Yeah.
put an undue burden on them, but this is why I don't like sidewalks, me personally. And just so that everybody knows, that sidewalk down at Dollar General, the owner of that property has now accepted responsibility for that sidewalk. There was some discussion in earlier meetings that the township didn't want to become responsible for that sidewalk, and that would again be a burden on Mr. Bulak's department to take care of, to shovel the snow, to provide maintenance for. The owner was a bit irritated with us, which I could care less. Our responsibility was to the township. Trustee Young and I were able to make that meeting. And what they did is they moved the sidewalk back toward the building, however far they had to. And that will now be deeded and part of the parcel. And even if that parcel is sold, it will go, that sidewalk will be the responsibility of the new owner. So in perpetuity, that sidewalk will never be the responsibility of Ross Township, which is kind of where, at least I feel on this, if we start getting into the business of repairing sidewalks or helping certain people, then we have to do it with everybody, and that's just going to burden us financially. So that, I like walking on sidewalks, but I don't have to take care of them as a township. So anyway, that's what kind of brought that up. Anybody have any questions about that? Okay. Township sign at US 27 and State Route 28. Steve Blower has been working hard on this and has a lot to talk about with that.
We received an email with two different size signs. When I first got the email, they look a little different, but I'm like, what am I looking at? So I had to reply back to the print company, and the sign itself, it's the different format the computer is able to accept to go ahead and print. Present sign is 8 feet wide by 48 high. They can't do the 48 high at an 8 foot wide. So that would increase the sign another 10 inches in height. I agree, that would probably look better yet from all the way across 4 lanes of traffic getting off at the exit ramp. And if we went with the sign that would be 48 inches high, it would be almost 6 foot wide. That wouldn't do it for me. It's 8 foot wide present, so I definitely wouldn't want to go smaller. So my recommendation is to go the 8 foot wide and 58 inches tall, which is just a little over 10 inches from the email taller. I think that'll look fantastic. I have, since the sign has changed in height, I have the quote from GCI Digital Imaging, and just one sign, unit price is $675.29, taxable $415, which we don't pay tax. A discount from the business owner who is a Ross resident of $260. So one sign would be right at, minus the tax, we're looking just a little over $400. Now discussion has come up of possibly putting one at the ramp coming from the southbound up into one of the flower beds. And I agree, that would look fine, and we would still be under $1,000 for 2 signs. And let me back up, since I didn't read it. That would be the polymetal 6 millimeter white. That's going to be the backer board, the vinyl wrap, and then a matte overlayment. The post will be taken care of by our road department, since they have the equipment, and the digital company really doesn't do that part of it. They'll sell us everything, but they don't really care to start digging earth. Fortunately, we already own the equipment. Thanks for those purchases, Paul. So I don't think it takes a resolution, but I'm all about putting a sign off the southbound exit ramp.
Yep.
And I with the two ESs for a total of 3, I will kick the gentleman that does the invoicing back and let him know I need an invoice for 2 signs. Now Paul's company and his 2 guys, their job is just increased. So we'll still have to buy 4 posts from Lowe's, and then Paul will have to cut it because the frame will be cut exactly to what the sign is with that. So you'll have to chainsaw your 4x4 post.
Okay.
A lot of work, and I know you appreciate it. You're all right?
Yeah.
And we greatly appreciate that also. You spoke about signs at different entrances to Ross Township. I just did a quick little count. It would be around 12 smaller signs at each entry point to Ross Township if that were to take effect in the future. One day when I was up measuring the sign, a month or so ago, I was approached by someone from the Garden Club that had mentioned that. Entry signs on 128 where it's presently an ODOT green sign, Ross Township. And that member, she stated maybe their organization could do some kind of a fundraiser, something of that nature. But she was only speaking of 128 coming out of Hamilton and coming out of Hamilton County. So that's something we can think about in the future. Again, we would have to do, three trustees go back and forth of the proper size sign. We would also have to get permission from state and local government for that, but that's always something. First off, let's see.
The same size at the Ross Township.
Yes, it would not, it would be, like you said, it would be like this.
Yeah, nothing will ever.
So that should cheapen. Maybe we could even do something like that with metal posts versus 4x4 posts, something in the future, keep the cost down. But I've already mentioned, let's see how when this sign does go up, let's see how Facebook Lost Talk lights up, that how much they like or dislike. That'd be the truth. I'm sure it's gonna happen. Okay, that and again, just this small sign, it's taken 6, 7, 8 months to get this far with originally, and you spoke about that. We sent the artist that 3-colored loopy thing with Ross Township, and it couldn't be done on her computer. She tried, asked for something special from Lori that we'd never heard of. Not a thumb drive. It was something, wasn't it? And I never heard of it, but she needed it on that format to see if their printer could do it. And so at that point, we're like, hey, you're an artist, give us something. And that is what she came up with. And I think it's sharp being 4D. I'm good with that.
Butler County, Ohio Rural Zoning Resolution Violation Cases. In the first category, there were some turned over to the Butler County Prosecutor's Office. That is property at 2221 Timberman. Some turned over to 21, or turned over at 2187 Cardinal. And then they were turned over for excessive vehicles at 3299 Cincinnati Brookville and 2307 Cardinal. So those are now at Butler County being worked on and attended to. Was also brought up, that's next. Anything else from the board under new business or under old business?
I have nothing.
New business. Before we get to the A, we're going to hit B. 2624 Cincinnati Brookville. About it being a dangerous, potentially dangerous structure. Lori, did you get anything back from, did you get any guidance from Butler County on that?
Not yet. I emailed and left a voicemail message for Dennis Dickard. He's the building administrator in the development department for Butler County, and I have also emailed the Butler County General Health District. I have not received a response from.
Excuse me, is that the Red Barn?
That is the red, that is known as the red house.
That's when I first moved out here, the health department went in, thing happened, and they said there was no danger. And the man that owns the building next door tried to talk to the crazy person that owns it, and he was really belligerent and a little threatened by him that people were trying to take his property and everything. And he's very nasty. But there's no more animals coming in and out like there were before.
Mhm.
And the health department's, Keith might remember, health department's been in there and everything. That's been 10 years.
Yeah.
And
Actually, in the files from 2017, a communication with Dennis Stickard, he was asked to assess the property, and he responded, after review of the submitted pictures, the condition of the structure does not constitute a serious hazard requiring the issuance of an adjudication order to declare it structurally defective to affect public safety.
We had trouble with that same building 30 years ago.
it's,
Yeah.
but the animals don't come in and out.
Well, it used to be a vet at one time, if you remember right. Maybe the animals are coming back for help.
Well, now, when the people who bought 26 to 36 or whatever next door, they cleaned it up a little bit, but something happened there and it's turned into like a transient house somehow. So a new friend, I don't know what goes on over there. But she did clean it up when she first bought that house. Then she cleaned up that Red Barn thing, but she now doesn't clean up her own, so nobody cleans up that
But
one.
we wanted to have it torn down at one time, and the government said we couldn't because of housing problems.
But birds and pigeons and all this stuff would fly in and out of there, and the squirrels that scare you to death to walk past. But we boarded the windows up after that, put new windows up and nailed the stuff down. And he doesn't do anything else. I would love to see it gone.
So who will be, what was that person's name in Butler County? What,
Dennis Stickard,
you spell his last name for me?
But when I talked to
Dickard.
And he's with the health department?
No, he's with the building department in the, within the development department.
Is it normal for him to go out and assess the property?
He was the first person I reached out to, if not, so if he isn't, hopefully he'll tell me
Okay.
who would be.
When, rather than them just saying, I'll stop out when I get a chance, will they schedule a time to stop out when I can stop out with them?
I'll ask him when I
Yeah.
hear from him. I did send the pictures.
So that one of us can go and be there.
If they pull the meters, it shows it's.
The meters have been gone for a while. The wires are cut.
Mhm.
It hasn't gotten any better in 7 years. It's the terrible eyesore. And it's a target for squatters, which I'm sure.
And he wanted my name before because I complained, and Tom said he wanted to find out who complained about it. But I think he might own the building next door because he kind of comes with a weed eater and leaves the grass all over the sidewalk and all that.
Well, figure out who you don't like and give them their name, not yours.
Giving him. So after the guy on the corner, he said he was really belligerent, and he said, I'm trying to take, the county's trying to take his house and everything. And he like cussed him out and did all that stuff. So it's like, but the corner house has really got everything together. He does a really good job.
He'll get a long way with me cussing me out. That'll work good. Gerhard, is that, Lieutenant Rogers was down there. Is that a target for squatting?
We were out yesterday. We looked at all the windows, the front door, the back door. There's no evidence that anybody is going in and out. Everything's boarded up. So we're not seeing anything right now of anybody going in and out. I mean, that's not to say that it can't happen.
Yeah,
It could very well happen.
Yeah,
but it's completely unattended and no
Correct.
utilities there at all.
none. Everything's disconnected. All the wires are cut.
And what happens if somebody does squat there? What is our recourse?
We'd probably have to work with well, then it would be something that would be more of a health and fire hazard if someone's actually in there.
Restroom for vagrancy.
Yeah, so we would probably do that and then get a court order, but it sounds like this property owner is not gonna,
He nailed up everything.
yeah.
I mean,
I don't know that he's gonna cooperate with us, but we can certainly address that if it becomes an issue like that.
everything and nailed up where everything was loose and all that kind of stuff.
I realize that, you know, that's his property and he has rights to do with his property what he wants. But I see it personally
Is it
a
eyesore?
nuisance, an eyesore, and a problem waiting to happen.
And devaluation,
I
everybody else's.
tend to be a
property
little
around
more
them.
proactive than reactive, and if squatters are there, if something bad does happen, if Chief Johnson has to send his people down there for a reason, it's just costing the township money.
As you guys know, I mean, there are locations in Ross Township where we have had people squatting,
Yeah,
so it can occur.
yeah.
So this is definitely a location that's, the possibility is there, we just haven't seen it yet.
Is there any rule in Ross about keeping the sidewalks clean?
Are you gonna bring up sidewalks again with me?
YGA, those gravels on that thing, you're gonna wind up killing yourself when you walk on them. It's just the empty lot next to the American, I think they call it. And they never clean the sidewalk off. It's all them little rocks and you hit your foot just right and you're kind of like, but I didn't know, nobody ever cleaned, they got everything all over their sidewalks and you try and walk,
Is that south of the Maristop, going that way?
coming this way.
Okay.
Big sidewalk.
Okay, that little empty lot.
I met the new lady that bought the Huffman House, very nice. Her and her husband are there, and just the two of them, it's that.
They live in there as a house or a business? Okay, in new business, land use plan. As we talked about before, the Burns property has been sold, so it is not under immediate, I'd say danger, but I can't think of a better word, of being developed. There's a lot of good in the Ross Township land use plan. One of the things that we have to be mindful of, and I think we three all are, there was a time when there was a hotel being talked about, things like that. We can't have anything high over there, I think over 2 stories. Is that right, Chris?
If so, yes.
Some of the things that I ran across on this that I'd like to maybe talk about is, this was a goal. And it says a goal on locating higher density and intensity development, higher density and intensity developments within the areas of the township where public infrastructure such as water, sewer are readily available or will be at the time of development. My personal opinion is I don't look at that as a goal. If that's something you guys want to talk about, but I'm not looking at it as a goal to assist in locating higher density and intensity developments within the township. Another one of the goals was the township will be a key partner in facilitating the appropriate expansion of public water and sewer service and providing necessary services. There are 5 things under that, and those are all no's for me. And I think that is, I think how we
Present.
with how we got rid of the JED is sort of indicative of that. Those are things I'd like to talk about. The plan. Then going farther into this, the actual land use, those were goals into the land use plan on page 6. High density suburban residential. Land areas proposed for single-family residential or multifamily residential land uses at a gross density of no more than 6 dwelling units per acre. I have 2 friends that live in Harrison. One of them owns a jewelry store up here. The other one is a former football player. And they're both very upset at the development that they're doing in Harrison. And I can't remember the exact number of acres, but I think he said 180 acres, and they want to put 340 homes in there. And I thought, wow, that's really packing them in. 12, he said they would be within 12, houses would be within 12 feet of each other, which is kind of close for my taste. I don't know how the township feels. I don't know how Trustee Blower and Trustee Young feel, but that was something that I had a question about.
I agree.
Before I go any farther, did we discuss any of those points? Anybody have any input on that?
Well, we talked a little bit before the meeting started, so I think Russ and I are on the same page. We'd like to make some changes here. I know it is a long process, but it's how we present ourselves now and how we will live with it in the future. And I think that's where we both come from. We'll have to sit around and kick the can down the street a little bit, but not too far, and start making some changes here, as long as the county's going to have to work with us. We're not going to work with the county. They're going to work with us.
How did we get to the point that we were revisiting this tonight? I'm not sure.
I just brought it up as a new thing.
Okay. I was just curious if there was some kind of a plan out there.
Nope.
Since we just redid the land use plan.
Yeah, I know. I saw that.
Less than a year ago.
Yep.
I'm looking at this and I see their blue highlighted. There's a few things in here you want to tweak or change?
I would
Is that
say,
going to take a major event, since we sent this up at the county level to have this land use plan accepted, correct?
Yes,
And-
it's the residents
Okay,
working on
and if
this.
we do anything to it, do we have to start all over again with that process and resend it back up?
Yes.
Okay. Since there seems to be quite a lot, is there a rush to speak about it?
No,
If not,
not at all.
Just get start doing it,
I
looking at
see,
it, hack it out.
our work session we have nothing for the October 17th work session. So we can invest hour and a half to 2 hours
Yep.
talking about it that night and try to, instead of just nitpicking a
Yep.
couple items,
Yep.
let's start at page 1 and let's go through this bad boy until we come up with,
Would you need to convene a new committee ultimately
oh
to
God, I don't
implement
want
it?
to.
No, I don't mean, but I mean to implement the changes, would you have to reconvene? Or do you have the
I don't have an answer for that. I mean, if there's just if we
Nice.
just talk about the high density,
Requirement? Okay.
if Russ has got a concern, and I don't think 6 dwellings for 1 acre is a really fantastic thing for this community. The farther away a neighbor is from me, probably the better, and they probably feel the
We're
same.
great neighbors, aren't we?
Yeah. You're way up a hill and I can't throw a rock that far.
Make sure we're not violating, but for
Correct.
Administrator Cousins, it's
yeah.
not a requirement. You're
But
good to
yeah, I think if this is a current concern to one or both of you, I think we ought to really visit it and see if there's, before we send it up there all again,
That's agreeable.
make the changes that we need to
That's
do.
agreeable.
And I think your word tweaks is good. I think it's-
Yeah. that way
Look
we
at it
don't
and maybe
take up the-
tweak it a little bit. We don't have,
the township
Okay.
employees.
yep.
Oh, you really don't want to sit through this, do you? Chief?
I tuned you out 10
Whatever you need me
minutes
to,
ago.
sir.
Tune me out.
Okay,
All right, anything else under new business from the board?
No, sir.
All right, moving on. Announcements, the fire department is having an open house on Sunday, October 6th, 2024, from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock at Station 102, located at 1308 Ross Millville Road.
are the trustees manning the grill again this year for hot dogs, or what are you doing?
I'm making those guys cook. You guys don't need to man the grill. No, we're gonna throw them on the big griddle in the kitchen. Our grill behind Station 102 almost went up in the cornfield from the wind on Friday. So
Okay.
it's in pieces. The only thing that kept it from going further was the gas line attached to the building.
All righty then.
Yeah.
One of the best restaurants in Ross is located at 1308 Ross Millville. I've eaten there.
Yes.
The fire department, Kendallwood Home, and the Ross Community Foundation are joining forces to offer a comprehensive falls prevention workshop on Saturday, October 5th at 11 a.m. at Station 102, 1308 Ross Millville Road. please contact Wendy Fetters, Kendall at Home Ross Community Foundation Board Member at 513-356-63 to RSVP or for more information. Trick or treating for Ross Township will be on Thursday, October 31st from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Will the fire department and police department be participating in some of those?
Yes.
Okay, as usual. Good. Thank you. Anything else from the board under new business? All right, correspondence. The Village Farm and Garden Club sent a letter of thanks for support from the board for the club's efforts at the civic beautification at the intersection of US 27 and 128.
So that's one too. For watering for them.
Nice of them to send that. We appreciate it. The Butler County Emergency Management Agency sent notice of a special meeting on October 22nd at 3 o'clock at the Butler County Emergency Operations Center located at 1810 Princeton Road, Hamilton, Ohio 45011, to discuss an increase to the current emergency management agency per capita rate 39 cents, which has been in place since 2010. The Butler County Emergency Management Board is considering a per capita increase to 55 cents for 2025 and an increase of 60 cents, an increase to 60 cents in 2027. Any correspondence from the board? Topics for the October 17th work session. We just got one. Anything else need to be added to that? Move for the adoption of motion number 24-134 to retire to executive session to discuss the employment, promotion, or compensation of a public employee in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, section 121.22G1. Time?
7:12.
Need a second?
You got one?
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Young?
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee McGurran?
Yes. All right. Thank you all. Appreciate you coming.